The most powerful organization in world sport commands a $13 billion empire, with more member nations than the United Nations itself. Presidents court it. Kingdoms spend fortunes bidding for its favor. Its tournaments stop wars, topple ministers, and hold half the planet breathless. But it began in a cramped back room in Paris. 7 founding nations, 1 sheet of paper, no money, and no office. And the 28-year-old journalist who built it would vanish from history so completely, even his own empire forgot his name. This is the true story of the birth of FIFA. And like so many revolutions, it begins with an insult. By 1900, football was escaping England. Factory workers in Belgium, students in Switzerland, dockers in Scandinavia. The game spread like a rumor. But between nations, it was chaos. Different rules in different countries, rival clubs claiming to be national teams, nobody organizing international matches. The obvious leader was England's Football Association, the very men who had written the laws of the game half a century earlier. The continent wrote to London, asking the inventors of football to organize the world's game. London could barely be bothered to reply. To the English, continental football was a curiosity, an amateur fad across the channel, not worth the paper for a response. One man took that silence, personally. Robert Guérin, 28 years old, a sports journalist at the Paris newspaper, Le Matin. Guérin also ran the football department of France's athletic union, which gave the young reporter something unusual, an official title and ambition. Since 1902, he had written letter after letter to the English, proposing one international federation to govern the sport. He received polite refusals, then vague promises, then nothing at all. Guérin compared negotiating with them to slicing water with a knife. So in the spring of 1904, the young Frenchman made a decision that would quietly change sport forever. He stopped asking England for permission and started writing invitations of his own to every football nation on the continent. The message was audacious. If the inventors of football would not organize the world's game, the world would do it without them. A junior French journalist, claiming authority over a sport England considered its private property. And yet, one by one, the answers came back yes. May 21st, 1904. Number 229, Rue Saint-Honoré, Paris. The back rooms of the French Sporting Union. Delegates from 7 nations took their seats. France, Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland. Germany joined by telegram. That very day, they signed a founding act. 1 federation per country. No player may represent 2 nations. An annual fee of 50 francs. And buried in those statutes lay a promise. Someday, this federation alone would hold the right to stage a world championship. The Fédération Internationale de Football Association, FIFA, born not in a stadium, not on grass, but on paper, in a borrowed room. The next morning, the delegates elected their first president, Robert Guérin himself, 28 years old, the youngest leader FIFA would ever have. His new empire had no headquarters, no staff, no savings, and had never staged a single match. 7 signatures, 1 telegram, an idea. For 2 years, Guérin fought to turn that paper into power. In 1906, he announced FIFA's first international tournament. It was a catastrophe. Not one association entered. Not a single team anywhere in Europe submitted its name. The competition simply evaporated. Exhausted and outmaneuvered, Guérin stepped down that same year. And then history delivered a twist almost too perfect to believe. England, the nation that had ignored every letter, had finally joined FIFA. And at the 1906 Congress, an Englishman took the chair. Daniel Burley Woolfall, a football administrator from Blackburn. The organization built to bypass the English was now run by one But Woolfall achieved something Guérin never could. He made the English rulebook the world's rulebook. One set of laws on every pitch. Under his presidency, the four British associations came aboard, and the game finally spoke a single language from Lisbon to Budapest. Then, in 1908, FIFA got its first real stage, the Olympic football tournament in London. Real fixtures, real crowds, real stakes. Great Britain took the gold medal on home soil, but FIFA took something far more valuable: legitimacy in the eyes of the world. For the first time, an international body had actually delivered international football. The back room in Paris was becoming an institution. And very soon, that word, in its name, international, would begin to mean far more than just the nations of Europe. In 1909, South Africa became the first member from beyond Europe. The Federation had crossed its first ocean. 1912 brought Argentina and Chile. 1913, the United States. In under a decade, a Paris club had spanned 3 continents. Football finally had a world government, thin, underfunded, and fragile, but real, and for one bright moment, its future looked limitless. Then, in the summer of 1914, the world went to war, and it dragged the beautiful game down with it. The founding members of FIFA began killing each other in the trenches of Europe. Teammates became enemies. Fixtures became battlefields. International matches vanished. Congresses were canceled. Stadiums across the continent were converted into drill grounds, barracks, and military hospitals. And in 1918, in the war's final months, President Daniel Woolfall died in office. FIFA was now leaderless and nearly bankrupt. The Federation survived because of a man almost nobody remembers: Karl Hirschman, a quiet Dutch banker, FIFA's honorary secretary. From his office in neutral Amsterdam, Hirschman kept the files, answered the letters, and held the entire idea together while Europe burned. No president, no Congress, no income. Just one stubborn man in the Netherlands, refusing to let world football die. When peace finally came, the wounds followed football home. The British associations refused to play against their former wartime enemies. By 1920, the British had walked out of FIFA entirely. The federation that survived the war was now tearing itself apart. That same year, in Antwerp, a caretaker stepped forward. A French lawyer, a decorated war veteran, a grocer's son with an impossible dream. His name was Jules Rimet. His dream was a true world championship. But that story is the next episode. And the founder? Robert Guérin simply vanished. He returned to journalism and slipped so completely from history that even his name blurred. He was born Clément Auguste Maurice Robert. Guérin may have been a pen name. He died quietly in Montmartre in 1952. It took 120 years, until 2024, for FIFA to unveil a plaque at that address, naming its forgotten founder. 7 signatures became an empire of billions, and every scandal since traces back to that door. Subscribe. The story of FIFA has only begun.